Hi, thank you so much everyone for joining us today. My name is Joyce and I'm the moderator for today's panel, Hong Kong from Local to Global, sponsored by Invest Hong Kong. And today we have three distinguished guest speakers with us. We have Gillian Howard, founder and global director of the Digital Art Fair, who's been really advancing art and technology, in culture. And we have Doris with us as well, head of creative industry at Invest Hong Kong, who's been supporting Hong Kong creative industries for over 10 years. So she will be sharing more with us, how Hong Kong is a really special place and why it becomes a global art hub. And last but not least, we have Benjamin with us from Phillips. So he is the private sales 20th century and contemporary art and project lead for digital art in Europe. So would love to learn more about, the digital initiatives and about the initiatives in Hong Kong with Phillips as well. So thank you so much. So I think before we start, would also love to learn a bit more about sort of how Hong Kong's art market has really evolved in the past decade and how it's growing prominence in terms of a digital and also contemporary art hub globally. Gillian, would you be able to share with us your views?
I think for the first 10 years, well, my first 10 years of working in art, and probably 12 or 13 years now, I saw the Chinese contemporary art market from growing to a stage that was really prominent for collectors, and particularly Hong Kong, the collector base has much improved and increased in the last decades for sure. Because I wanted to be an artist a long time ago when I was a kid, and then I saw that, and then starting working in galleries let me have the opportunity to meet a lot of those people, a lot of art collectors and institutions. So seeing that to today, I do think that there is a massive increase of art collectors in Hong Kong. What do you think, Doris?
Well, I think back 10 years ago, that's what Joyce referred me supporting the arts. That's when I joined Invest Hong Kong, actually. And I can see, when I look back, actually, in the last decade, we have already supported nearly, not yet 100, but is already nearly 100 business in art-related business. Maybe it is art galleries or art consultancies and even auction houses. So it's quite a number steadily increased, especially in the first few years when I first joined. That was 5 years ago. So it was a very vibrant industry. And of course, when you ask whether Hong Kong is a good hub for art business, I think maybe in the first few years, when I do presentation overseas, I always want to talk about Hong Kong. I may not have so many slides or so many things to talk about, but still a very vibrant hub at that point. But now I can talk about it forever, and I can really have an hour of my presentation if my audience won't fall asleep. There is so much to talk about, and I think it has changed really in the last few years.
And what do you think why Hong Kong is so attractive to overseas companies? With Phillips also establishing in Hong Kong in recent years. And Benjamin, would you be able to share with us?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Phillips has had a presence in Hong Kong for 8 years now, but we opened our West Kowloon space earlier this year, which I guess reflects just how far Hong Kong's come. And I think more broadly, over the last decade, you've seen so many of the mega galleries come here, the large institutions, foundations, and I think just more broadly, Hong Kong, it's always kind of been this gateway to the wider region of Asia. And I think, for collectors or auction houses or art businesses more generally, it's very attractive in terms of the infrastructure here, which has long been set up, the logistics, in terms of the regulation here, and legally it's very easy to operate as an art business. And I think, you also have these fantastic kind of very young collectors who are very confident and willing and educated on contemporary art. And I think all of that together amalgamated just has led to this enormous boom.
And if I may, actually, I just want to have the experts to talk about Hong Kong first instead of me preaching about Hong Kong. But I want to talk about also from the business side. Actually, Hong Kong is the easiest place to do business. And it's also one of the freest economy in the world. And this makes quite a difference, actually, in attracting business coming to Hong Kong, especially in the arts. In reality, actually, we don't have sales tax, we don't have VAT, GST, we don't have import-export tax, we don't have capital gain tax, and our profit tax for business is only 16.5%. And even for profits below 2 million, is actually half of that. So it's just 8.25. It's very, very low, and we are already spoiled by it. We forget about it already. But this is quite interesting and also very attractive for business. And our transportation, our logistics for art industry is very sophisticated. We have very good art logistics company supporting a lot of transportation, storage facility, insurance, and also just one thing about the Hong Kong government also proposed to have an art storage facility in the airport so that we can attract more family offices. They have a lot of collection in the arts. They can display that, they can store that, and they can appreciate that and ask their friends to go there and appreciate it. So that will also help with the art industry.
That's really exciting news. And I guess in terms of geographically, Hong Kong is also positioned in a very good area, which, becomes a gateway to, between the West and the East. Do you also have more points to add in terms of locality or the cultural diversity of Hong Kong?
Yeah, I mean, completely. I think there's the most obvious thing geographically, which is, it's right in the center of Asia. I think it's also uniquely positioned in the fact that it's, very accommodating for Westerners or non-Cantonese or Mandarin speakers. So it's very easy to do business with, Americans or Europeans. And, it's also on the doorstep of the second largest economy in the world. So all those factors combined just, make it rife for doing business, and it's very easy for everyone. Yeah.
I think I may be biased, but I think I've been to a lot of cities in the world with work. So I meet a lot of these art people and most of the art dealers and professionals, and I find people in Hong Kong, especially, is the most efficient place I've ever been. It's ridiculous in a way that you send a message and everybody expect you to react in 5 minutes. If you don't, this is a problem. So things happens really quick, and that makes business, not just art business, any business to thrive. And Hong Kong people always have this can-do attitude. It's like I can do this right now and right now. So that is a little bit intense, but is how things get done in Hong Kong. Yeah.
If I may add one more point, I just read an article about the ROBS report, which is on ultra high net worth individuals. And actually, to my surprise as well, Hong Kong is the top, has the most highest population of ultra high net worth individuals, meaning over 30 million US in net worth. And New York is just second to Hong Kong. So we have around 12,600. So it is very substantial because imagine Hong Kong and New York. New York has a lot of population, at least 10 times of Hong Kong, I think. But then within our 7.5 million, we already have the top highest population. Of course, not all of them buy art. So I hope they are, right? They are interested.
So Hong Kong, New York, and then
I can't remember
Sorry,
the third.
I'm testing you.
Yeah, I know. I should remember. I should memorize the whole list, right? but yes, but of course, just New York. But the whole U.S. is still very dominant, right? But in terms of city, just think about Hong Kong, 7.5 million. New York, who knows how many population in New York? I don't. But I think
that.
maybe more than that, no doubt.
No, actually, I was reading a report by The Economist talking about how during COVID, all the art market has been going down. But in Asia, actually, it's the most resilient, with Hong Kong leading and surpassing London even. So actually, Benjamin, would love to learn more about, because you have experience working, in London, in New York, etc. In terms of art markets, how does Hong Kong compare?
I think the Hong Kong art market is, it's younger than say New York or London, but because of that, it has its own uniqueness. It can kind of carve out what it wants rather than having this, pre-established, especially with contemporary and modern art. I think it's been, traditionally very localized, and now it really has this opportunity and has been to do exactly what it wants, and it's actively and very quickly been establishing that. I think, as we were saying, during the pandemic, there's definitely been a change. A lot of the smaller galleries have maybe closed down or had to move online or change. But I think it was great because it also gave brand new galleries to host online exhibitions or viewing rooms. At the auction house ourselves, we did online sales virtually, where we kind of beam auctions from London, Hong Kong, and New York at the same time. So this kind of rise of digital innovation, even within the art business, since the pandemic, I think has also led to that shift.
And 2020 is also when, Gillian, you founded the Digital Art Fair. With COVID, you have achieved amazing results. Could you share more in terms of like COVID and how digital technology came into place in the art market?
So 2021, I was at home during COVID. 2020, at the end of it, I remember it was January that broke out, and then I was at home doing nothing because no one can do anything. So because I was actually, I think Doris, you had met in the year before that, and then I was doing an immersive exhibition, like a normal gallery, and obviously I was interested in all this technology that's out there. That's how this started. But I remember the next year, because the gallery has to close down. I don't remember, you guys remember that all the galleries closed down for a while, or they didn't let people. Yeah, no one's going out. You're not allowed to go out. So running a gallery, I had a 3,000 square feet space in Kwai Chung. At that time, it was cool. Okay, people go to a warehouse, you rent this place, make it look nice, and then you do whatever you want to do. So it's really nice. But once I signed the lease. And then 3 months later, COVID broke in, and I just finished the whole renovation. And I was like, what the heck am I going to do about this? So when I was sitting at home, so I was researching about digital and then the digital art, and what do I make? How do I make a VR exhibition? How do I make an AR exhibition? And then Digital Art Fair started. After that, obviously, during COVID, everybody was staying at home and doing nothing. Really, no one's doing anything. and obviously, doing a fair needs money. So what I'm trying to say is, when I reach out to these, at that time, I don't know if you can call this a crypto company or Web3 company at that time. I was like, hey, I want to do this digital art thing. It's 2021 during COVID. And they were like, yes, let's do it. And I think that was how it started. And I think that's the attitude during COVID, that people were not happy with staying at home and doing nothing, and very resilient, absolutely. And 2021 was the year we started, and we worked with Rafi Canada, and then we did a really, really great auction result, and sold, I don't remember how many, I think 150 work, pure NFTs, pure digital art during the fair. And yeah, that's how it started, and just, I guess that showed the people in Hong Kong are interested. They want to look at something else. They're happy to do something that's different, not traditional.
And I think also to that point, during the pandemic, that lockdown stage, no one could go out to museums, right? And so you were just looking at art on your screen all day, which is fantastic. It was great, the real thing. But actually, there was a real attraction to digital images and digital work. And I think that, as you said, as we came out of that, there's just been such an appetite then for seeing digital work on the kind of the flip side in a physical space, like at the fair now.
I think COVID really has transformed our patterns of cultural consumption. And I know the Phillips also recently launched the Drop Shop. It's a new digital initiative. Would you be able to share more with us?
Yeah, of course. So Drop Shop is our new e-commerce tool. We've always, worked with artists in a primary capacity, but in a very limited capacity, and we've seen a massive appetite for it. So we now have, every month a drop where we work with an artist on the primary side. We worked with CJ Hendry last month. We just did a release with Emily May Smith this month. And we allow collectors to buy a number of artworks over a limited period, maybe 24 hours. And as part of that, we also ensure that artist resale royalties are paid if that work then comes up for sale with Phillips.
That's the point that I really want to also look into, because for me, it reminded me of when NFT was first launched, and a lot of artists were very interested because it creates a really equitable art market and secondary market as well because of the resale royalties. Was that inspired by the Web3 technology, digital art evolution?
I think partially. I think all artists now also have, speaking purely for traditional artists, they have a lot more autonomy and independence than maybe did before the pandemic. You have a lot of contemporary artists now without representation, and so there's just a much greater appetite in understanding that you need to be paid artist resale royalties. And I think there's also, traditionally artists weren't the happiest people with auction houses, let's say, and so I think everyone knows that working together is a lot more beneficial. And it also gives you greater autonomy and access to spaces and resources. So I think it's a lot more welcome now. And as to your point with NFTs, I think it's becoming a lot more standardized and expected.
And Gillian,
I'm going to be very honest because I work with a lot of artists directly. So auction house, you don't necessarily work with artists directly. And before I started the Giraffe Fair, and even now we do work with artists directly. And there is I forgot the name of that. I'm sorry, but there is this that rule or regulation in UK.
The ARR, is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
Artist resale royalty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to happen. It's a regulation to protect the artists and the creators that every time our work being transacted, and I think the US have the same thing. Or at least the galleries has that.
Yeah, I think it's just in UK and Europe the ARR is,
Yeah.
and in New York and Asia, it's not enforced.
Yes. But the gallery that I work for was a private collection and private museum involved as well. We have that on the invoice as well. So anytime the collector buys something or resell it, you should tell me as a dealer that you were selling it to someone, and then 10% should go to the artist. However, how things work. It doesn't, people sometimes don't follow the rules. And then the artist is like, you said you would do this, but you didn't do this. I guess then royalty then being kind of implemented into the blockchain is a way to protect the artists in that way. And, this is their right. It should be their right. And I believe it should be their right. So that's why I think blockchain helped a little bit with that. Not a little bit. It helped a lot. It helped is a secret weapon. Yeah, for the artist.
Exactly. And now that smart contracts are actually legally enforceable, right? So that makes it very powerful. Yeah. Well, I guess depending on different jurisdictions, they are. Yeah. So depending on where you are. In Hong Kong, actually, we might need to sort of further look into it. But
well, suddenly I become the legal expert.
Oh, no, sorry, we can't answer that question because she's not. We're not supposed to give you legal advice on this unless it's been verified.
There's a lot of disclaimer, right?
But I think it's actually really interesting, and even talking to lawyers and researchers, these are definitely areas that they are trying to enforce. And even as someone who's going into law school, they need to learn coding and understand all these fields. So
can we ask the audience who have heard of the AR, the artist
resale royalty.
1,
ARR.
2? See, and there are galleries at the back that didn't know.
Because it's more international implication than in Asia. It's not enacted in Asia.
But digital art, NFT.
How many have you heard of royalties? You see? What? Yeah, half the room heard of royalties.
And probably because of Web3 and NFTs, that's probably become, within people's consciousness and vocabulary because of NFT, how it enforces the royalties, right?
And the name royalty. That's a good one.
So yeah, with that said, as a pioneer of, digital art, in Hong Kong and international, how do you think it's disrupted the traditional art market and the traditional art field?
This question's been asked so much, but I collect physical art as well. It's like you like sneakers and you like boots. I don't know why did I say this, but you can like different things. You have one thing that you like, but doesn't mean that you will then switch completely to the other ways. So I do think that you can have both, and you can collect both. And it's not something that, either this or that, or it's not like if digital art happens, it's going to destroy the traditional contemporary art market. So example could be, the Chinese painting, calligraphy, and then now you have new artists coming into photography. It didn't completely replace it. It's I think people likes to create some sort of, but actually not likes to. People create, we have fear of something might take over something. Like the younger, newer idea would take over and the rest would disappear. But I don't think so. I think they are not contradictory and they are mutually not exclusive.
Exactly, and it actually contributes to the vibrancy of the art ecosystem as well. And Benjamin, have you noticed any new audiences, collectors' behavior change, during COVID with the digital transformation?
Yeah, completely. For traditional art or for NFTs or for
Both.
Both. Yeah, I think that, completely to your point, there was this initial thing of the traditional art market's going to go away, and it's the same thing as, I always think of like the advent of photography, and all the painters were like, oh no, I'm never going to sell a painting again. It's the end of the world. And then everyone just did both together, and it kind of became art as this. I remember Jahan yesterday was saying it's treating digital art and art as just art and classifying it as a kind of single thing rather than, siloing these two mediums. I think over COVID, there was definitely a massive adoptance and acceptance by traditional collectors of NFTs. And beforehand, there just wouldn't have been, which was fantastic. I think also people were at home, as we were saying, just staring at art all day on screens. People want to have time to go to every gallery show or look at every PDF or opening, and they did. And also, especially in America and Europe, people had a bit more money. They weren't going out and going on holiday, and so I think that really led to people, having more openness and just money to like acquire art in a way they couldn't before. So there was definitely a spike, I think, and definitely an engagement with mediums that people didn't have before. They really had time to sit with the stuff and research, and yeah, I think it diversified collectors' tastes.
And with such sort of new sort of cultural expressions and cultural production also comes with a lot of, support that is necessary in order to, continue the development and positive development of these areas. Gillian, have you seen any sort of initiatives that are implemented that really help support what you do or your colleagues' work?
I need to ask Doris. What can we... Can you give us some support? What would you...
Well, actually, thank you for asking me. I think it's not just Invest Hong Kong, but if we take a wider perspective and look at the Hong Kong government as a whole, the government actually last financial year has put 5.7 billion Hong Kong dollars, not US, into arts and culture. So it was being put into like funding different art projects, programs for artists, cultural exchanges projects, and it's not about capital works either. So it's quite substantial. And in terms of digital art tag, the government is also very supportive and already have allocated 100 million into developing art tag. And when we talk all the times about West Kowloon Cultural District, and I must say we are very privileged to have the cultural district that was discussed since 1998, and I think that was the longest project that the Hong Kong government needs to discuss. But I think it has turned out wonderfully. But there is a smaller one, that is the East Kowloon Cultural Center that will be opening very soon, later this year. And apart from some lyric theaters and other smaller theaters, they also provide the lab. So the lab is equipped with very sophisticated facilities, equipment for the development of art tech, XR, VR, AR, or other kinds of projection mapping, all contributes to the development of digital and arts and production. So I think that is also very encouraging. But for Invest Hong Kong, we always are very supportive of the art fair.
Thank you. I remember actually, yeah. The support are great in Hong Kong. Actually, I'm just being a little bit cheeky, but but we actually do receive amazing support from tech company. Like traditionally, we are sponsored by LG Electronics Hong Kong. All the screens at the fair, we have about 150 screens this year, and they are the highest quality fine art version of like top end. The level of their screens. And then the media in Hong Kong, absolutely fantastic because they are very cultural. I would say very cultural. They care about it. Hong Kong general public as well. We were sold out in the first year, completely sold out. And the audience, I think 100% were Hong Kong Chinese. I wouldn't say, but live in Hong Kong, residents of Hong Kong. And then obviously others sponsors and partners that work with us, not only just from Hong Kong or also overseas. We got TAS outside, exhibiting in digital art fair from London. They're like, we want to support Hong Kong developing. We see the opportunities there, and we like what you guys are doing. So in all the galleries that flew in from France, from Australia, from London, and they just supported really, really well. And I guess a part of it is because they also see opportunities in Hong Kong, and not to say Phillips Auction House that collaborate with us and on some of the digital artwork being on sale on their platform. So the support is actually really great.
No, thank you for that. And also, Doris, you mentioned sort of the majority of your role is also to help support, foreign investments to come into Hong Kong. And with Hong Kong being such a vibrant art hub, how has it changed, throughout the years, in terms of investment, and how are people continuing to be attracted by Hong Kong as an art hub?
Actually, way back, I have to disclose the history again. Like say 10 years ago, when I met with different art business, usually is art consultancies, more traditional, and also contemporary art galleries. At that point, there were many coming to Hong Kong. And during the pandemic, actually, there's the digital trends is actually also regenerating the art industry. So new art business, digital art business, Web3 at that point, new platforms were starting. And therefore, in the last 1 or 2 years during the pandemic, we meet a lot of these kinds of business. Talking about how Invest Hong Kong supported overseas business or overseas entrepreneurs in Hong Kong, actually there are many ways that we do. We have 30 overseas offices, and we usually reach out to different business through our overseas offices. But in Hong Kong, we also work very much with local partners. And even though we help a lot of startups, SMEs, and I'm also very pleased that we are also able to support some major business here. And I'll use Phillips as an example because Benji is here today. And when Phillips already is very established here in Hong Kong, but when they expand here in Hong Kong in West Kowloon Cultural District, we also facilitated. Of course, we are not allowed to talk too much about the details because every service we provide is confidential. In terms of logistics, in terms of government-to-government relations, or in terms of public publicity, which is in the public domain, I can talk more about that. So we did a video. And I want to show that video because it's a very nice video because we commissioned a production house, a French one actually, to do it. So it's not, it's very stylish. So shall we go down so that people can have a better look?
A certain type of energy that is created at an auction. One never knows what's going to happen. One can never predict how far someone's going to bid.
Welcome to Phillips.
I have strategic oversight of our business operations here in Asia. I also run our 20th century and contemporary art department here. Phillips, unlike other houses perhaps, has a core focus on the 20th and 21st centuries in everything that we do. When it comes to our sales in Hong Kong, we've developed this reputation for being the house that introduces new names to the Asia market. And I remember when I started, it was just me and 5 other colleagues. I remember sitting in the tiny office thinking, how on earth are we going to find people to sit in the rest of the spaces here? Within a year, that office was full. We were bursting at the seams. We started looking for other spaces. We found here, we moved in, and once again, the story was repeated. We're packed in like canned sardines. And we'll be moving across the harbour to West Kowloon. Our new offices will have over 50,000 square feet, over 6 floors, in a tower directly adjacent to M+. Our tower was designed by Herzog and de Meuron, the same architects that designed M+. It'll be the first time any auction house in Hong Kong has ever had a permanent exhibition, a space and an auction room. We'll have 3 floors of galleries, starting on the ground floor, the first floor and the 3rd floor. We'll have a purpose-built auction room with state-of-the-art lighting, wood floors, and it will have a very Phillips feel. We just concluded our full sales here in Hong Kong. We achieved with the sale of our top lot, this painting by Gerhard Richter, 774-1, a result which essentially was the highest achieving price for any lot offered by any auction house that week. But something else which we're very proud of is the fact that we achieved the highest sell-through rates of any auction house across the entirety of the season. For a long time, Hong Kong has been established as the main hub for the auction market. And this is for many, many reasons. Geographically, it's placed right in the middle of Asia. It's on the doorstep to China, the world's 2nd largest and perhaps soon to be the largest economy. The legal system here is robust and there's very low corruption. There are world-class logistics companies and infrastructure here in place to serve an auction market. We're constantly looking at ways to advance our business and to grow the business across the region. So we're looking for opportunities, and when we see one, we take it. We've established a very good reputation for the categories that we operate in. I would like us to be market leaders in all the categories that we operate in at some point in the near future.
So I was very grateful for our production house, and in fact, this production house, they reminded me that I facilitated, or my team facilitated their setting up here in Hong Kong 10 years ago. so that was really a wonderful story about how we supported or facilitated different kinds of companies. And in terms of the market, actually, apart from Phillips having a major expansion here, and we are able to provide publicity support, not just by just doing the video. Of course, we do a lot of social media promotion, as well as other media promotion for them in Hong Kong and overseas. But then there are other major auction houses like Christie's. They are also expanding, and they will be moving to the building that's actually next door to Invest Hong Kong office in the Henderson very soon next year. And they have 6 floors of exhibition space, also have their own auction spaces and exhibition space. And so is Sotheby's. They will be also moving to the Landmark. So I think without actually my promoting Hong Kong, just look at the art business opportunities here. If the art market is not in Asia, because Hong Kong is a very important regional hub, actually, for the art market as well. It's not just the Hong Kong market, even though we have wonderful ultra high net worth individuals here, and very sophisticated art collectors in the region is also one of the very important reasons why the market is so vibrant here. And I just actually read in the SCMP just this morning, the African Art Fair is interested in coming to Hong Kong during Art Basel time next year. So I was just having a conversation with Benji. I think it's wonderful news that Hong Kong can attract so many different art fairs, art galleries, and art business.
No, thank you. And I guess apart from the private sector, actually Invest Hong Kong also support a lot of public initiatives as well. Would you be able to share more with us?
For public initiative, the CSTB, that is the bureau, the Cultural Tourism and Sports Bureau, actually they had a very good funding program that I really want to help promote it, which is the Mega Arts and Cultural Events Fund. And that was started actually after the pandemic. I think Hong Kong needs to do a lot in order to attract business travelers as well as leisure travelers. So this mega arts and cultural funds actually provided support for new projects in arts as well as cultural exchanges. And the pilot scheme have supported, for example, Art Basel, Art Central. So it's not just public institutions, but also private art fairs, including in art, and also the M Plus Madame Zone exhibition, which is now on, as well as the upcoming one, which is the National Gallery from London. They will have a wonderful exhibition in Palace Museum, which is about Botticelli to Van Gogh. So a lot of masterpieces from Renaissance to the Impressionism period. So we are very pleased, actually, that we'll be able to support and bring all these wonderful exhibitions here to Hong Kong. And hopefully more art fairs or digital art fairs can really support the building of these wonderful art fairs here in Hong Kong, attracting more galleries and other visitors to come.
And actually this year there are many galleries and different studios here with us. So, thank you for bringing them together.
This year, we're still a very small fair. We have about 20 galleries and a booth here this year. But a few of them are very impressive, including like a few from London, House of Fine Art in London, two of the very emerging contemporary young galleries coming to Hong Kong. I think it's one of the very first time they come here. And then one of the galleries from Australia. And I was really surprised because I don't think Cultural Vault. I don't think I've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've seen any Australian galleries in Hong Kong so far, or maybe just one of them. I think, but that was it pretty much. So and then the other from New York, two other galleries from New York as well. So yeah, for us, I think it's a big step because from 2021 there was very, very limited numbers of galleries that was actually working around the same medium, like anything related to technology. So it changed quite quickly in the last 2 years.
And I think comparing to other art fairs, the digital art fair definitely, stand out, bringing different, artworks, different audiences. So thank you for bringing that together. And it really shows how amazing the fine art, ecosystem is in Hong Kong, not just the private sector, the public support that we have and the different infrastructure. So with that said, I think I might open up to the floor to see if there are any other questions from the audience.
Anything? Yes.
Thank you for organizing such wonderful digital art fair. This is the third time I'm visiting, and I myself come from a very traditional art background, having worked at auction house and galleries, and I recently joined a Web3 platform that uses blockchain technology to preserve art and cultural heritage around the world called Quantum Temple. And my name is Kate Park, by the way. Just my question is that I'm still trying to navigate this, two distinct world, the traditional art world and digital art world. And it seems like we're claiming that digital art world is being disruptive, but how is it disruptive when there's almost no presence of, any digital artworks in recent, traditional art fairs like Art Basel or Frieze, but rather there's this new development of almost in reaction to that resistance in the traditional art market, there's new art fair like digital art fair in Hong Kong, and digital, arts or the Dropbox, the new launching project at Phillips. So it seems like it's not really merging, but rather there's just this whole new ecosystem. So I'm just wondering, how can we kind of, merge or trying to bring the, audience or tap into that already existing market rather than just creating something constantly new thing where we're not getting so much traction from, the traditional art market. And that's been the biggest challenge for me. Like, how do we communicate with the people who are, showing so much resistance? I know, there's a lot to, discuss about it. So, thank you.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think the one thing I always consider is that digital art, for example, it's kind of widespread acceptance. It's maybe only been 2 or 3 years comparative to, I guess, like contemporary art market, which is now 2 decades old. And I think it's really important to ensure that actually this is quite a slow, gradual process so that people don't get scared off or, there's big bubbles and they burst and everyone runs away. And I think from a traditional art market side, there has been, particularly, I haven't maybe seen it at art fairs, but for example, you have, Paste with Paste Verso, Gargosian also has some digital artists or, artists exploring that side. And of course, with Sotheby's, Phillips, Christie's, all the auction houses are also engaged and have growing digital art teams, and even with M Plus showing digital art across the globe, internationally with museums showing digital art. I think actually in context, the adoption has maybe been a lot faster than it ever was for contemporary art, which is only taking 2 decades now for some of those contemporary artists to get major retrospectives. So I think it's a slow process. I think it's important that it's a slow process, and there's actually a maturing of the market. And research is done. There's academic research. There's critical research, because everything that comes out in 3 years can't be great. And I think it's important that it actually gets filtered, and proper curators put time and effort into ensuring the right artists get chosen for shows and put together. So yeah, I agree with resistance. I think it's probably quite good because there's some filtering there, and I think people engaged with digital art that I speak to are in it for the long run, and I think it's a long process, and that will play out over time. And I think we're only at the very start.
Oh, I completely agree with what you said. You actually articulated much better than me, I think. So thanks for that. I think Benji and I have a quite similar background in a way that because besides he is focusing on digital art right now, he also comes from a contemporary art background, so am I. So before I started Digital Art Fair, I actually worked in the contemporary art scene for 10 years before this. For me, is seeing the new trend and take the time to communicate with the collectors. It's always, it's no difference when you introduce a new artist or new emerging artist, a new artwork, a new technique to someone. There's also a lot of speculation going on around the whole market, because they don't know. People don't know. They don't learn, they don't know, right? So you got to educate them, we got to educate them. And as art dealer who specialize in it, we should know the most. And I always said I think last 2 years, because the profile picture was making so much noise, I remember being asked so many times about what do you think of these monkeys? And, I don't have a problem with it. The only problem I have is you can't call that fine art. It's not fine art. It can be anything you call it, but it's not fine art because it's just everything that we said is not going to be art in our education. So bear in mind with that, so most of the traditional collectors in 2021, they thought that's digital art. They thought because they were not educated in the way that who we are working very deeply in the scene knows. There are amazing digital artists out there. You walk outside Digital Art Fair, you see this brilliant immersive room, Rafik Anadol, some of the artists that doing robots and AI. Those are real digital art. Those are real fine art. But when what we do as art practitioners or art experts is this is our job to educate them, and also the newer generation, because we will grow up with it and they will know. But if you talk about the 50-something, 60-something, if they don't come to the fair, or if they don't go to a gallery that specializes in it, or they don't talk to an art expert in Phillips or in an auction house that they know what they're saying, they don't know. And even for most of the people that come to the fair, it is the first time they see digital fine art, and it will take time. It's not going to be like overnight, everybody understands it. It's like, yeah, people are resistant and they take some time to understand and learn.
Exactly. I think every new evolution and transformation will take time, from the client side. And also speaking with a lot of galleries and auction houses, I keep hearing that it's actually bringing in new audiences, new collectors, and a new way of, collecting and behavior. And not just on the art market side, even from the museum and institutions point of view, I'm also seeing a lot of adoption in terms of different types of technology and different infrastructure being in place. So yeah, I'm actually very positive about the future of digital integration.
To share some stat that we collected the last 2 years at Digital Art Fair, most of our collectors are not necessarily traditional. We have about maybe half traditional, and half of them, like this is a little bit astonishing figures. Half of them said they have never been to an art fair. About 20% of them said they have no interest to go to a gallery or museum. No interest. And I remember having this conversation with a 24-year-old Harvard graduate at Kandler that I went to do a talk there. She came up to me and just said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that art is fun." Like, seriously, that's what she said. I was just like, "What do you mean?" I was like, I never wanted to go to museum. She's studying Harvard, right? So she's smart. She was no interest, just absolutely no interest, because they grew up with a computer. They grew up with a pad. So these figures kind of make me wonder, like, what is the new generation gonna be like? And for us, the figure also show over 60 or 70%, I have to fact check with you, but over 60 or 70% of our art collectors are under 45 of age. So these group of collectors are very keen on learning new things. They want new art that is not something they might see. Maybe the price is too high for them, maybe. Maybe most of them for like under 45, like, considering how expensive the contemporary art market is right now, and this might be the latest trend that they can actually be involved with.
There are lots of different new, cultural consumption patterns as well, and fractionalization of collective ownership, and all that comes from digital innovation. So yeah, any other questions from the audience?
Any questions?
So if not, I'm going to ask a final question to all of our panelists. How do you see the art market or the art ecosystem in general evolving in Hong Kong in the next decade, and how will it continue to develop?
If I do my job right, I would see that there will be more newer generation of galleries that would decide that might be a good place to maybe develop digital art. Not necessarily digital art. It could be like traditional art, painting, photography, whatever they want to do. Because like creativity is something that when I started Digital Art Fair, one of the questions that I have and inspired me to do it is because I thought, and I still think, that creativity is a taboo in the Chinese culture. Right? Like, you're not supposed to be creative. You're not supposed to raise your hand. You just sit and you listen and you follow the rules. But I don't think that is healthy anymore, because considering what happened like historically and how people were kind of, like not being able to express themselves, it's not necessarily the best thing. And I have so many artistic friends, and they're creators, they are, artists, animators, musicians, all finding it quite a bit kind of going downhill the last 10 years for some reason. So I think if we could encourage more creativity in Hong Kong, it's better for, I can't say better, but from my point of view, I think that is very idealistic, make people happier. People can, because if you're in a massive city like with the skyscrapers and we are stacked on top of each other, it's too stressful. So if people can be a little bit more creative, think outside the box, and allowed to be creative, and seeing example of like this can be done, I think that will help to move the city to be more cultural, more kinder to each other, more just a warmer city, because somehow last couple of years has changed quite a lot, and that's my idealistic goal on what I want to see the city become.
Doris?
Maybe two aspects. From the cultural side, I'm so passionate about Hong Kong being able to thrive as a creative hub. So this is something that I'm very passionate. And just by looking at like say, West Kowloon Cultural District, they are having wonderful exhibition. The Palace Museum as well as the M+ allow them to experiment, and there will be more different kinds of diverse exhibition that can tailor for different kinds, not just fine art, digital art, or more popular pop art, or other kinds of visual arts. But I find myself very privileged, actually, that I live in now I can say Hong Kong really is a cultural city. I go to the West Kowloon Cultural District. I can go to the Kusama exhibition and then Madame Song, and then I can go to see the Samsung Dui, which is an archaeological exhibition. And I'm not so much into archaeology, but suddenly I find myself amazed at what's happening in this civilization 3,000 years ago. And people are queuing up in Sichuan to go to the museum to see the Samsung Dui, and Hong Kong. I was very privileged to be able to go to the opening, but the tickets is just $200 around that. And I think we have a very vibrant cultural scene here, and I really wanted to flourish. So that's the more cultural side. But allow me to talk a little bit about the business side, because there's already the dollar sign here in my head. Because for the business, I have to look at the national strategy that Hong Kong is now designated at the International Center for Cultural Exchanges for East Meets West. So you might ask, what's the significance? And Hong Kong has always been very East Meets West culture, and also talent-wise, we also have many East Meets West talents. Take for example, right? These two ladies are already here. Jonathan, the artist Jonathan J. Lee also. And there are many talents here. But the significance actually happens maybe in China. Because since the border is opened, I've been meeting a lot of Chinese companies that are asking me, now that this is national strategies, Hong Kong is a designated center for international cultural exchanges, they really want to see how to tap into this market so that they can explore overseas opportunities. And I've been meeting a lot of these very interested either galleries, auction houses. Some of them are private, of course, and some of them are even state-owned. So I think in the next few years, we will see more interest and hopefully really more real business setting up here, adding towards this international as well as the East Meets West culture of Hong Kong, which is our unique position, actually.
Yeah, I would say, I guess this, the increase in cultural exchange, I think would be a great signifier, and also the expansion of Hong Kong's local art scene. And I think not living in Hong Kong, maybe the most significant thing would be to see representation of artists and creators from Hong Kong in Europe and the US in the same way that Western artists and museums and collections are framed in Hong Kong. So I think that would be the largest signifier, really. People traveling purely to see artists from Hong Kong, and the same way maybe people might go to the Louvre or the Tate to see Western artists.
So thank you so much all for joining us, and hope you enjoyed the panel discussion. Thank you again, Gillian, Doris, and Benjamin. Let's give them a round of applause.